National University, as well as Nova Southeastern University. So an individual from any of those institutions would qualify to apply for this award. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, affiliation with the aforementioned institutions is required. Now, if you are an applicant from outside of we are going to request that you identify a mentor or co-investigator from the CHARM registry or from the CHARM network of researchers. And there are definitely some resources that we can provide to you for you to identify such an individual. Full-time faculty members who are either in their early career or who are new to HIV, looking to make the transition to that area, and or mental health research are also eligible for this award program. And this would, of course, be on a individual basis. Interested postdoctoral fellows are also encouraged to apply. However, they must submit a letter of intent prior to applying. Postdoctoral fellows also are also required to submit a letter of support from the chairperson of their home department, indicating support for their application and a potential research faculty appointment at the completion of the postdoctoral fellowship. And this is very much in the model of how the NIH looks to allocate funds for postdoctoral fellows such as K awards, based upon the propensity for you to stay on and have support in your position as the award is being undertaken. Next slide, please. So some of the priority areas for a pilot award program really align well with the priority areas which have been identified by NIH. So this includes impact of social determinants of health on HIV and mental health disparities. Particularly, we're looking at factors of resilience. Oftentimes we are in a sort of deficit framework, but this is in the new sort of model of research that we're looking at, identifying if one is not doing an intervention, so to speak, at least identifying factors that are resilient or sources of resilience are very, very important as identified by our community advisory board. Uptake or implementation of injectable ARVs for PrEP or HIV treatment, including addressing the side effects of those drugs and treatments. Another priority area is quality of life needs for persons living with HIV. This can range from a number of syndemic factors, from housing to nutrition and food insecurity, to education as well as self-advocacy. Access to substance use and mental health interventions has been a focus of this developmental award. Also intimate relationships, specifically, or not specifically, but including serodiscordant partners. Adaptation or development of interventions or implementation strategies that address HIV and mental health disparities. Research on scaling up or scaling out preventative or treatment interventions, and this includes structural interventions that impact disparities at the intersection of HIV and mental health. And we're really looking for those that specifically address the populations that are burdened by mental health disparities and HIV here in South Florida. And as I mentioned, this is modeled directly from announcements, from award announcements from NIH. So any research area that has not been described here, but has been listed in Part 2, Section 1 of PAR 2308, except those that are specific to HIV-associated central nervous system dysfunction and disease. So that will be an exclusionary criteria, I guess, for this round of applications, but we may be opening that up in future announcements or future calls. Next slide, please. So this is a timeline of the deadlines associated with the award. So the actual RFA was disseminated back on May 8th. The letter of intent, which is optional except for postdoctoral fellows, as we've indicated, will be due June 4th at close of business. The specific aims and community engagement plan draft which is required if the applicant is interested in participating in a speed review, is due the 28th of June at the close of business. Now, the speed review, which is optional but is highly recommended, will take place on July 19th from 1:30 p.m. to 3 o'clock p.m. And we have some resources that are available for you so that you can get an idea of what the format of that speed review is going to be onto. The actual application is due at CHARM or due to CHARM by August 30th at close of business, 5 o'clock p.m. And then we plan to make announcements of applications that have been selected for funding in October of this year. Now, after we make that announcement, the full NIH application is going to be needed to be sent off for approval at NIMH, and we aim to do that by January 22nd, 2024. So just because we have, given that we've made our announcement of applications have been selected for consideration, those applications do need to go out to NIMH by that January 22nd, 2024 date in order for them to be finally considered for funding. And then the award period, the tentative award period that is, will be June 21st to May 31st, 2025. Next slide, please. So in terms of the submission process, the letter of intent is, again, optional except for postdocs. And that letter of intent, we made it very, very simple for you and can be submitted through a REDCap link, which you see here. The speed review submission, which is optional. Your materials can also be submitted via REDCap. And then we also have a link for you to submit the full application via REDCap as well. Proposals approved by CHARM, again, will need to be prepared as full NIH proposals and sent out to NIMH for agency approval. And the applicant, principal investigators, as well as their grant management offices, are responsible for preparing for the full application or the full proposal in conjunction with the support of CHARM staff in order for us to get those out in a timely manner and reviewed in a timely manner so that there aren't any delays in terms of the allocation of funding. All right. Let's talk a little bit about the different sections of the pilot award. So many of you all are likely not strangers to the overall format of the application. There's going to be a section or area regarding public health relevance, the project summary, and the specific aims, which we highlight as being perhaps one of the most important aspects of the application. We have a research strategy section, also a community engagement plan. And for those of you who have not been involved in community-based participatory research, there are different ways in which we can engage the community with your project. That could be anywhere from the actual study design to the implementation of the study to the dissemination of the findings for the study. And we have some examples, some stellar examples of some past applicants who have really done a good job engaging the community in their application. A budget and budget justification will be required, as well as bio sketches from the principal investigator and all of the key personnel on the grant application. Letters of support and commitment will also be required at this time. As we indicated for the postdoctoral fellows, you will need some letters of support from your home department and the chairperson for that department. Mentors, co-investors, and other significant contributors will also require a section. You should also indicate how you plan to use the center and suggested reviewers for your grant, as well as the career goals and future funding that can stem from the pilot award. Okay. And I think with that, should I hand it off to you, Vicki?
Sure, thank you. Thanks so much. Hi, everyone. I'm Vicki Behar-Zisman, and as Yanexi introduced me, I'm the director of CHARM's Developmental Core. So let's talk a little bit about specific aims. As Roger mentioned, this is, probably the most crucial part of any grant application. And it's also what would be required if you are to participate in the speed review. It's the most important part of the application because basically it's giving the reviewer a executive summary of what it is that you're planning to do. So you're concisely describing the significance, why are you doing what you're doing? What are you intending to accomplish? For a developmental grant such as this one, it's also good to indicate what is it that it's going to lead to for your next application, for your next proposal. What is it informing in terms of what's next? You need to identify the need for the study. Why are they the best suited to, or their environment the best suited to complete this study? Briefly talk about what are the specific games, what are any hypotheses if you have any, what are the, what's the overall methodology and design, and what do you expect to find, or what do you expect this to inform. Next slide, please. And by the way, I failed to mention specific games is one page document, and all the formatting instructions will be on the application. When we have the speed review, which is going to happen, if I remember correctly, hold on a second, I have it in front of me. The speed reviews will take place on July 19th. And so we need your materials, the specific aims page, and in addition, a paragraph that's separate from specific aims that's explaining how the project's going to engage the community, what is the role of the proposed community partner, who are the partners, and how will the findings impact and be disseminated to the community. So community engagement is a key element of this of the pilot projects. The areas of research that Roger described earlier were informed by our community advisory board, and so community engagement and the community advisory board participates in the review of the applications and are available through the Mental Health Disparities Core of CHARM to be consulted before you submit. So by June 28th, we need to have these two documents that would be submitted through the REDCap link that was shown earlier. And then we have the speed review. And for the speed review, once we receive all of those speed review applications, then we make decisions about who are some of the people in our network who would be well qualified to give feedback. So the speed review is really a way of applicants getting feedback on their ideas. And by the way, whatever gets submitted as part of the speed review process, it's not like you're committing to that specific aims. The idea would be to take the feedback and to make some revisions based on what you hear. So for the speed review, we'll be having a video for you all to watch in advance, just to prepare you, to orient you, so that we don't have to take time on the day of the speed review for that. And then we have 20 minutes with each individual reviewer. So each applicant will have an opportunity to meet individually, and you're welcome to bring your co-investigators, your mentors, whoever you would like to bring to that, to meet with at least 2 reviewers for 2 separate meetings, so that you get some feedback from them. You'll in a breakout room. This will all be via Zoom, and when your time is almost up, we'll let you know so that you can move on to the next reviewer. And after the speed review, it would be a good idea to sort of think about what you heard from both reviewers, because those are things that you really probably should prioritize when you think about revising or planning your full application. What are some things that maybe one focused on and not the other? And those are probably very important as well. And then use that information to revise your specific aims, and then to plan your whole application, right? Next. Thank you. Okay, so you have a budget, a one-year budget for $45,000. This is for direct costs. In other words, the costs of your project. It's a one-year period, which, as we indicated earlier, the aim is for it to happen from June 1st of 2024 to May 31st of 2025. Your expenses should be restricted to personnel, including your own time. Research supplies, costs for subject participation, test supplies, community engagement. In other words, what it is you need to do your projects. You need to also provide a budget justification. In other words, you tell us each item on the budget and you say how it's going to be used. And that includes investigators, community members, etc. What is their effort and what will each person be doing? And what will each item be used for? Next. All right, so CHARM has just a myriad of resources. CHARM is a center. We don't just offer pilot awards, but we are a full-fledged center. The director and co-directors of the center are here on this call, Dr. Safran, Dr. Jones, and I'm not sure if Dr. Feaster was here as well, but we're here and we're really here to help you. And so we have various cores. The pilot studies is put together by the developmental core, but we also have a methodology core, which can provide consultations on both quantitative and qualitative methods and any statistical issues, including data management sorts of issues. We have a mental health disparities core, which houses our community advisory board, and the mental health disparities core can provide consultation on community engagement, on culturally tailored approaches for both assessment and intervention. We have a new core that's part of CHARM, the Equitable Implementation Science core. So you will have noticed in our priority areas that there was one about scale up and scaling up of interventions. One of the awards in the pilot studies program every year will be focused on implementation science. And our implementation science core can provide consultation on implementation science components of any research projects. And again, the developmental core, if you need help identifying a mentor, developing a mentoring plan, and of course, we provide the speed review to give you feedback in advance of submitting the pilot award application. So we really hope, we really encourage you all to utilize these resources. It's going to help you have a stronger application. It's going to help you to have an application. And then once you, get the award, it will help you to be more successful as well in terms of completing your project. And a little later there, we'll show you the link that you can use to request these services. All right, next slide. So community engagement, obviously we're stressing this because we can't stress this enough. It's a really important part of our intention of the pilot studies program. And so you absolutely must identify a community partner for your study. And there's any possible range of activities that your community partner can be engaged in. They can help you if you're really doing truly community-based participatory health research. They're going to help you sort of think about what are the priorities, engaging in designing and executing the project, engaging in interpreting the results that you're finding and helping you disseminate those results as well. They can be consultative throughout, and you really do need to budget, according to the scope of work of your community partner. That should be part of your budget, and we'll be looking for that when we do the reviews. Again, the cores can help you with this, and here is the link for the navigation portal so that you can make any requests. We have a couple of our current CHARM pilot study PIs with us today, Dr. Renessa Williams and Dr. Victoria Orego. And we asked them to join us, and they were very generous in joining us today to say a little bit about how they are including community partners in their pilot studies, just to give you a couple of examples. So I'll start with Victoria, if you're available, if you could just address the group briefly and let us know how you're engaging with the community for your project.
Okay, hi. I'm doing a micro games project and I did reach out. Well, first of all, I want to say, do the speed review. That's so invaluable to having a really tight, and usually lots of revisions if we're novice at this. So that is just invaluable. So that's just what I would say there. And then regarding community engagement, I did reach out to a contact from CFAR, and then also within the core here, Dr. Rodriguez set me up with Borinquin. And I think what I would advise is as early as you can, you do want to identify the community partner, make sure that their aims or objectives serve and their mission serve or are aligned with your grant objectives, that the community that they serve is the community that you want to also address. Because you know, having that continuity is really important when we're disseminating and executing the actual project. The other thing I would say is for this grant, I had to cultivate a relationship during COVID. That was difficult. This is a relationship. The community partners are vital. They're super busy. You need to be patient, a lot of time. Take your lead from them if possible, be humble, be curious in terms of what they can offer. And usually if you have to take the time to get to know, I identify one contact person that I talk to the entire time. And I believe in always being transparent with them, involving them as much as possible from the very beginning in the study investigation planning process, as well as the execution and then dissemination. And they really feel invested in it. And I use inclusive language. I call it our project. I couldn't do this without you, expressing gratitude, constantly making sure you're touching base with them, whether it's via Zoom, you know, it could just be 20 minutes or half-hour sessions, but the more you can do to keep them in the loop is also really important, because you know, it does take time with some of these community partners to get them, if they do agree, the most important thing is, are they vendorized? If they're not vendorized, that is going to be a significant amount of effort placed on you to familiarize yourself with what that means, and also to familiarize yourself, familiarize the community partners. Oftentimes, if they're truly in the community and haven't been working with UM or any other institution, they're really not familiar with that process, and it can be a little daunting. So you want to make sure that you do familiarize yourself if they are not vendorized. So find that out very quickly so you can kind of plan strategically as you move along with the project. And if possible, do face-to-face meetings. Go out to the community as much as you can, go out to meet with them, take a tour of the facilities to really give the staff there, as well as your contact person, that inclusion, all right, that this is our project. People want to see themselves represented in the work, and they want to feel that they really do have, they are experts, and they are. And so having that important communication and rapport building, especially in the beginning, is really early on. And I think that's all I would say. I really had a good time with my my community partners, because we did have a nice rapport going in, and just being really passionate and very clear before you meet with them. Also, I do have like roles and responsibilities. And so we are very clear on what the roles of the community partners are on paper. So it's also, again, very apparent and clear what the expectations are as they unfold. So there aren't any surprises or loops. And I think that's generally what I would say.
That's great advice. Thank you so much. What a great example. And Dr. Williams, are you with us? Yes.
I'm here, but I'm having connectivity issues. So I have my camera off to maybe help with that, if that's okay.
Sure.
Thank you. So my project looked at intersectional stigma and its associations with viral suppression in Black sexual minority men living with HIV. And I have to say my CAB is integral to my work in this population. Without my CAB, my work wouldn't be possible because they literally helped me recruit almost 90% of my participants. And my participants really trusted me because of the CAB that I worked with. So they knew that I was like a safe person and I wasn't out here to exploit them. But there were just a few things that I wanted to add to Dr. Orego's points. So when you work with like historically oppressed or marginalized groups, trust is everything and it takes time. You could have the best study, the best intervention, but if you don't have buy-in from the community in which you serve, your work will only be good in theory and not necessarily in practice. So the way that I built trust for me, I really listened to my CAB. I meaningfully included them in my work, like Dr. Rego said, and really honored their words. Another thing that took it a step further, yes, your CAB will offer you a lot of great advice, but you should also give back to, show support for them, show up to their meetings. Use your expertise, because I am a nurse, they genuinely wanted my help in coming up with solutions that with issues that they brought up. So that's how I did that. And just showing your face, like go to their community events. Because when the Miami-Dade community begins to know your face, trust me, it's a lot smaller than you think. That helps build trust too. It shows that you really care. I guess the next tip I have, I would say, also it's very important which community organization that you work with. Again, really choose someone who perhaps has the lived experiences of the population you're working with. Your study will only be enhanced in that way. But yes, again, just don't use that community organization for your gain and then just leave. So even after the study is over, I would highly suggest you continue building that relationship, building that trust, and make sure that it's just a mutually beneficial relationship. So yeah, even after my study ends, I'll probably continue speaking at events that they ask me to speak at to spread awareness about HIV. And more recently, you can do something small. Like I nominated one of my CAB members for an award like a Miami-Dade award, because they're just a champion in the LGBTQ+ community here. So yeah, that's one of the last things that I kind of wanted to highlight. Yeah, I think that's about it. But thank you. I'm happy to meet with anyone if it's helpful, and best of luck on your applications.
That's awesome, Dr.
Thank
Williams. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Nancy, can we go back to the slide? I think there might have been a couple more slides left.
Yes.
And I see so many members of our executive committee are on this call, and we're going to have time for questions at the end. And if Roger and Yanexi and I can't answer them, I'm sure other people on this call can as well. So I think we're ready for the next slide. Okay, and a little bit more about community engagement for the application. You do need to have a letter of support from your community partner or agency. And as was already indicated by Dr. Williams and Dr. Oriego, you're really encouraged. I can't even think of how you would do it, how you would do this adequately without really corresponding with your community partner throughout the proposal development process. So we have from now until August when this is due. So you have some time to really engage. If you're not already well embedded with a community partner, to start, doing your outreach, as soon as possible. So the proposal does need to explain how the project will engage the community, what is their role, and how the findings are going to impact and be disseminated to the community, right? As Dr. Williams said, so in both Dr. Williams and Dr. Orego said so beautifully, it's not a matter of us just as researchers, sort of landing at a community partner agency, getting our project done and, saying goodbye. The idea is you're really building a relationship that you will be able to continue, that is mutually beneficial, and that will go on beyond this one project. Next slide, please. Okay, so End of August is when the pilot award applications are due. We will not accept late applications. Are due by 5 p.m. Through the navigation portal. And again, here is the link if you would like to request any kinds of support. All of you are here probably because you received the funding opportunity announcement, and that has the live links for everything. Anybody needs an extra one, just chat, message Yanexi on the chat, and I'm sure she can send you another one. So let's open things up for everybody. That's the last slide, right? Yep, it is. So let's open things up for your questions. We have a few minutes, and don't be shy. You can put your questions into the chat, or you can just speak up.
Dr. Behar Zusman, I have, this is Lindsay. I have a kind of a generic question that I think will benefit all, which is that for being able to monetarily pay the community partners, considering that this is 1-year pilot, although there is quite a bit of lead time until the actual award, what do you suggest for the applicants would be the most viable way of getting this through University of Miami in a timely fashion to actually be able to offer something to the community partners?
Yeah, that is such a great question, and you're right. This is important for everybody. So, as Dr. Arrego mentioned, if you have a community partner that's already vendorized, which is kind of an awful term, but it means that they're approved by the university to receive payment, then that definitely speeds things up. The vendorization process can be a long and winding road. So the best thing is, remember, once CHARM approves the application, which will happen in October, that'll be announced. So anybody who is going to be recommended for approval is going to find that out in October, right? And so that's the time to start. So you have all the way from October until June. You don't wait to find out, oh yeah, NIH is going to send you a notice of award to start that process. You really do need to start it early. And the other thing that I'm going to just refer this question to Mohammed, who's with us, who's our administrative director, is that now that we've opened up the pilot awards to institutions outside of it's probably going to be slightly different, or maybe potentially have an additional layer. So Mohammed, what do you suggest?
Mohammed, you're muted.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry about that. If the award is from I think it's going to be a little easier to work with the DevCore and all of the coordinators to kind of help vendorize. So it's going to happen either as the community organization is going to be either a consultant or maybe like a subcontractor, which is very rare. But we have to make sure the community organization is vendorized within Workday, so that as soon as the project start, payments, there's no delay in getting payments to them. So if you're at an external university like FIU, NSU, or FSU, I'm not sure how the process goes there, but you will have to go through the same process, make sure they are already in the university system in order to do business with the university, so that you can get them set up. And then as soon as your project start, you can easily make payment to them.
I wouldn't have that be like the reason you're worried about applying to the developmental core for a developmental award. I mean, I would say that will help you, Mohammed will help you. I'm speaking for you, Mohammed, but you're very good at this stuff. And I guess if it's outside right, it would probably be like 2 subcontracts, one to the school that the person's applying from. But if you have a community agency, like it would still, I don't think it would be like, let's say you're applying from FIU, it wouldn't be that like we would subcontract to FIU and then FIU would subcontract to like, let's say Pride Lines or something. I think it would be like, okay, this amount of the award goes to Pride Line. So we would just directly do that and then directly do the rest to FIU.
All right. So it would be like either a consultant agreement or a service agreement, something like that, you know. Because the scope of work, I don't think it's gonna be, the award is $45,000. So the scope of work is not gonna be that big to establish like a subcontracting award.
And,
But
and
we will, if we have any question, we will be there to assist you all the way through the whole process.
yeah, and again, as Steve mentioned, don't let this discourage you. You know, part of what the developmental awards are for is for you to, is for early career researchers. You're learning how to do a research project, right? And part of that learning process is really going through the process of getting through this thing of engaging with community partners, of figuring out all the administrative hurdles, which are there. There's no doubt that they're there, but this is an opportunity to do that with a lot of support. Which if you're applying for a, you know, an R-level grant at NIH, you might not be able to have this level of support. So we're here to walk you through this, help you through it, and you know, make this a really doable and good experience.
Yeah, just a quick question. So can you confirm that you only have 2 awards for this cycle and one of them is for implementation?
That's correct.
Is there any reason why there's a reduction in the number of awards compared to previous years?
I think, and somebody on the call can correct me if I'm incorrect. I think the reason we may have had more awards in some of the previous years, at least, is that we were putting together multiple years worth of awards due to either the first year not having an award or maybe having some slowdown due to COVID, but I'm sure other people here can respond to that if I'm off.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
sounds right. We're also doing we're going to be having another award as well called the Scholar Award, which probably will put all 3 of them together, but we have total a little bit more money than we've had in prior years. It's just that like year 1 of our last one, we did 4 awards, but then we didn't do any the last year. So it was, you know, like different years, we've just done different amounts. So this year, our first year of our new grant, it's going to start with these 2 and then keep your eyes open for something that's called the Scholar Award that's going to come up. And then next year, we'll probably have 3 and we have yet to determine like the configurations.
And no one is barred from reapplying to these different for applications, submitting a new application each year, the same PI, correct?
Yeah, you should definitely like if you apply, what we want to be doing is if in the unlikely event that you're not funded, we want to be giving you a ton of feedback and meet with you afterwards and have you also keep your eyes out for things like the CTSI awards, the CFAR awards, and you know, hopefully in the future, the new version of Claro awards, you know, so, and other things around UM, plus the next year Charm Awards. So, you know, it's always good to try this because, you know, in this field, persistence really pays.
Thank you.
Questions?
Any other questions?
Chat lines are open in case you prefer that route.
Yes, question.
I have a question about the pilot part of the award. So I've never done any research in terms of AIDS studies or mental health studies, but I have some research experience in analyzing survey data in terms of social psychology and the social demography. I'm a demographer and population study center. I was trained at Population Study Center and Survey Research Center at the University of Michigan. So I'm wondering if I lost my field in China over the past few years. So I'm looking to enter a new field with my, expertise, I guess. I'm wondering how will this pilot award might open my horizon, okay, in terms of public health studies. I wonder if we have previous cases, previous recipients of this award. Do we have any experience from them, or? Thank you.
First of all, welcome. I mean, it's wonderful to have, we love having people from different disciplines and who are new to HIV and mental health research. And we have had pilot studies that have essentially been analysis of existing data sets. So that is possible. We would still want it to have a community component of some kind. I would suggest to you that you put in a request for a consultation with the methodology core as well as with the developmental core so that we can have a conversation and think about possible collaborators here who would be a good match for you to work together with. From those others who are in the center on the call, any other suggestions?
Yeah, I think that that's a really good suggestion. And then also if you're doing a secondary analysis, I don't want to spend too much time talking about something that we haven't worked out yet, but that's what the Scholar Awards are going to be, which is different than these pilots. It's more to like a very, very, very mini K award in that it would be like you have a career development component, and then you also have like a small project that you would analyze data from versus collecting data. And like I said, we're working this out. So anything that I say about that is just more like we put it in our grant, but we need to look at the logistics, and Vicky and Roger need to kind of figure it out. But like that's something to also just watch out for in the next however many months,
Thank you. I'll keep that in mind. And I've also seen the messages from the chat section. Thank you. I've taken them down.
Any other questions? Yes.
You're muted. We can't hear you.
You're not muted.
You're not muted, Samuel, but we can't hear you.
Maybe your
Maybe
microphone
you
is-
can, yes, maybe there's an issue with the microphone, or maybe you can type your question in the chat.
my office, I have to turn my microphone on and off like 3 times before it starts working. So yeah, we don't hear you.
No, but feel free to definitely type your question in the chat. Yes. Okay, great. Yes, he's going to type his question in the chat.
While he's typing, I'll just also just really say, the more you work with us, the better your proposal is going to be, and the more you get out of it. And we've had like a lot of folks with our supplements, because that's been a little bit on a different time frame, but you know, people that have like used this award to spearhead their career or similar things with CFAR. So, you know, the logo that like our success is your success or your success is our success, like is totally true in this. Like we really, our whole point is to help like the whole point of the center is to help stimulate doing HIV research. So we really want you to be successful. Even like someone was saying, like if there's only 2 awards, but even so, that's not the end of our wanting you to be successful. Like we will help you find other mechanisms, we'll help you shape your projects. Like we really wanna stimulate this stuff for junior investigators or for even senior investigators that are, you know, new to HIV and such like that.
Okay, and I see
yeah.
that Samuel has typed his question. You're a doctoral student just starting out research on HIV PrEP. So awesome, you've picked a great area to do research on. We do have recipients doing mixed method studies. So that's perfectly acceptable. We are not, the call for proposals is not open to PhD students. It is open to postdocs, but please reach out to us because we'd like to hear more, you know, learn more about you and what you're working on and see how, if we can be of any assistance to you. So don't, you know, even if you can't apply for the pilot, please, you know, send us a message through either to Unexi directly or any of us or through the portal. Definitely interested in knowing more about what you're working on and about you.
Definitely. And we also provide a lot of services for grant reviews, including specific aims review, as Vicky had mentioned earlier on. So again, use this and the resources that are provided by the center to your benefit. And there are lots of resources. So please do not hesitate to contact us.
Doctoral students in the past, even we had one from FIU, I think is now part of our T32 as a postdoc, where we had provided like some consultations for, I believe it was an F31 or an F32. And then now that person finished their PhD program at FIU and now is a postdoc funded by our T32. So, you know, we also want to attract outstanding doctoral students, help them be successful, and then come here and be a postdoc and then be successful there and then be faculty here and get lots of HIV grants and have your career grow. So hurry up with that.
And collaborate with others, right?
Absolutely.
Yes, any other questions?
Okay, everybody. Well, we're so happy to have you here. Thank you to everybody from the CHARM Executive Committee for being here as well and showing your support. I think it really shows everybody on this call who's thinking about applying that this is really about supporting our early career investigators, supporting our, you know, people who are coming up in the research world. And once you get into the thing, that's it. You're in our listserv. We reach out to you. We're going to continue to really want to follow what you're working on, what you're doing, and help you any way we can. So, you know, welcome to CHARM. For those of you, this is your first time with us.
We won't stalk you too much, like you won't have to call the Miami-Dade police, but you know.